So today we'll be sharing with you how we constructed this over 3,000 capacity fish pond. It's a trampoline pond, and we'll be sharing with you how it started from the very beginning up until how we have it at this particular level. So in construction, one of the first things you must look out for is this foundation, the ground level. That is where we begin all from. It's important that it's slanted a bit. This is so as when you are flushing out the water will have easy flow, and then we do not get to have the dirty water still remaining and clogging along the angles, but the water is totally removed, and then you are able to take in or bring in fresh water into the pond. So we'll be showing you how this is constructed. Basically we have the trampolines. These are very good and durable quality. If you see how thick the materials are, this should last for a very long time. Then we have the rods by the side that holds the angles. Yes. Then if you notice also, we have the nets. These nets are very important and essential so as to protect the fish and the surface from the predators. That's those birds that would want to come and pick up the fish. This is where the water comes through. So a piping system is arranged where water comes in. That's if you have a borehole system, there is the piping that needs to be done that will link the water and bring it into the fish pond. So as you can see now, there is water coming in at this level and into the pond. So just as we have the inlets, we also have the outlets. Now the outlet is where the water goes out from. So we'll be showing you that, how the water flows out. From this particular level, you see that we are able to construct something underground for the water to go through. Now you would love to have the water outlets underground so that you don't have any water remaining, because if you create the outlets perhaps somewhere here, then you may still be having some waters remaining. But if it's underground as we have here, then the water is able to flow out completely without having any of those dirty water remaining inside. Just as we have a certain amount of water that is needed for the fish to be able to freely move, we would not also want the water to overflow to this extent where the fish would now be able to have access to jump outside, and then we lose the fish. So we have this particular outlet which is known as the overflow. This is the path where if the water reaches to a certain level like this, then it's able to regulate itself, just so we do not have the water overflowing and then taking out the fish. So this is also very important and is well situated here. The fish water we have here also is very nutritious for plants, and so instead of just discarding it, we have a way of also channeling it into our farm, because it serves as manure also for the farm. So if you see our plants here, they are really enjoying this water source we have here from the fish. Natural source of manure for the plants. The species you start your farm with is very important, as it will determine the outcome of the fish, whether it turns out to be big or small, or it turns out to be stunted and refusing to grow. Therefore, that is the key thing. and you must prepare the pond in such a way that the fish, when they are introduced, they will be comfortable. It has to be clean. You have to wash it and ensure that it is well prepared. You may want to also add some salt to the water. This is so it gives it a sense of a natural feel for the fish when they are introduced. And when they come in, you would also want to administer some multivitamins and antibiotics to help them, stabilize and better adjust to the new environment that they will be introduced to. Bringing your fish, especially the fingerlings, at those tender age, you must ensure that you get the right mediums or containers to bring in the fish. In introducing them, you must do it gently. You must introduce them gently into the pond so that they are not experiencing any form of friction that could lead to their mortality. So for the first day that you bring them, you would allow them some breather, some space to relax and to acclimatize with their new environment. When the fish are introduced, it takes about 6 months for the fish to fully mature to the point where they are ready to be disposed. Now, at least when they hit a kg or a kg plus, then you are able to begin to plan to dispose them. So within 6 months, you are guaranteed that the fish would have developed to that weight, the desired weight and the desired table size for the market. And to attain that, you must ensure that your feeding is adequate. It's appropriate to feed the fish twice a day, but depending on how your schedule is, it could be even once. But they must get the maximum requirement for the day. So you feed them, and this feeding continues and improves even as they grow. There are different sizes of feed for the different levels of growth. So for instance, when they are tender and at the fingerlings level, we give them 2 mm or anything less than that. So but the more they improve, you would see that their growth changes. Then you can move to the 3 mm, the 4 mm, the 6 mm, and even when they get to the very big size, we have bigger variety of feed for them. So in starting, you must give them the required amount of feed per day. And one other important thing is timing. In feeding the fish, you must ensure to time them. Take for instance, you decide to feed them by 9 a.m. every day. You must ensure that you follow through with that timing. They are very sensitive and they know the timing that is best for them. That's why it's also important that time to time you take weights and you measure the weight of the fish so that you would know how fast they are growing, or if there is any other thing that is delaying their growth, then you can be able to know and take the right step. The growth is usually not uniform, therefore you would have to sort. Now, sorting is a process where you select the fish that are overgrown as compared to their contemporaries. Then you try to separate and put the bigger ones aside, and then you put the smaller ones to the other end. This is so as to ensure that there is uniform growth and feeding, and that there is no form of cannibalism. So still in feeding, you must ensure that you maintain a particular brand when you are feeding your fish. This is so as they are able to adjust to the feeding pattern. But where you have to take feed from one place and one product or the other, and give them at certain different times, then it will bring some form of confusion to their system. I would usually advise that you go for floating feed. That's the feed that floats on the surface of the water, because that helps to maintain the hygiene level of the water, where the remnant of the feed doesn't just sink and then causes problem for the fish. It is advisable to feed the fish the quantity they need. Whatever quantity remains on the surface of the water after they are feeding, that is when they are satisfied, it has to be scooped out, just so it doesn't still go back into the water and becomes a nuisance for the fish. Therefore, you would need to watch their feeding pattern. As you feed them, you are careful enough to see how they are feeding. The more they feed, then the more you give them. But once it gets to a point where they are satisfied, then you withdraw feeding. You may experience mortality. This is a natural thing that happens in raising of the catfish. However, you have to watch out to notice if there are signs of infections in your fish. Then you can quickly administer some form of treatment. There are special medications that can be given to these fish to revive them when there is an infection. Hope you enjoyed every bit of Farm Ferry today here at Unania Farms, showing you about the catfish and how we constructed this our 3,000 capacity catfish pond. Well, it's a fish pond, but we have more of catfish, so I call it the catfish pond. You can feel free to leave your comments. If you have questions, you can leave it in the comment section also. We'll look at it, and if there are suggestions, we are willing to take. We can clarify some gray areas that you may be experiencing in your own farm. Thank you for watching. Do well to subscribe, like, follow us, and we'll be bringing you more editions on Farm Ferry, ferrying you around different aspects of agriculture and farming.